Hello everyone, hello and welcome back to another stream. So, this one's going to be interesting. This one's an update from M.A.S.S Builder, and oh boy, we got some good stuff to talk about. So, already we've got Vermilion coming out and talking about the 0.9 update. And this has some big implications in future. It's just going to be interesting to get round to that kind of stuff. So, let's just get into this. Hey in chat, by the way. So, here we go. Previously, for those who don't know, M.A.S.S Builder had the 0.8 update, which introduced a couple of new levels, a lot of new accessories, and just made overall building a lot easier. The best way to describe it is, I imagine, or rather, I describe the 0.8 update as basically being like the mobile armor, or the armor update, primarily as it focuses a lot on allowing players' customization to be expanded a lot more, so it's easier to do a lot more complicated things. So it was a really good update. Hey everyone in chat, hope you're doing alright. But yeah, 0.9 apparently is gonna advance on that a little bit more. So here we go. I've just skim read this, so I'm gonna actually go into it properly now. So what's next for 2022 from Vermilion? We'd like to put out a disclaimer that this won't tell you everything that we're doing, only major parts of the update that we'll need to finish before we update M.A.S.S Builder to version 0.9. There'll be other small improvements and changes as well to quality of life, small additions that will further better the game. With that out, let's talk on what we're planning on 0.9. In this, the long-awaited multiplayer update. So here we go. Multiplayer is a big thing that they've been on about for ages, and we talked about this in one of the original streams that we did with Vermilion, where we actually got to talk to a couple of the people creating the game, and they've mentioned multiplayer and multi-platform stuff as well. No chance of multiplat, but here we get the first glimpse of what they plan for multiplayer. So, let's get the biggest thing out of the way first. Multiplayer. We've speculated for multiplayer as a whole to take at least 7 months, and wanting to take or make 0.9 to be the long pause. However, we thought it at best get a smaller version up and running, like a test version, just to check to see if we're doing it right and that no critical problems are found by the time we announce the full multiplayer compatibility. Multiplayer alpha phase is mainly to test things out. The aim is to first create a working lobby where players can join each other's session. This is to check out if they're syncing or we have network issues. Players seeing the same things or not, and can others see movements with as less delay as possible. Things like that. This is the bare minimum, so we expect some kind of empty space where you can show off your M.A.S.S units and run around with no objectives with other players in 0.9. We'll keep you updated on our progress. To end about the multiplayer, we know that you might wonder about the kind of gameplay modes we're planning to create, about the balances and player counts. We'll ask that you wait for more information before we're ready to reveal them, small steps at a time so we don't trip. So of course, that's getting everybody excited now, or it should be, the fact that, everybody for a while has been saying, oh great, can't wait to go on multiplayer. I'm speculating that there'll be a PvE sort of mode for this, but that'll come later on. I imagine in this very early stage, like Dave said, it'll literally just be like an empty lobby where you can run around and just show off your builds together. Because multiplayer is not an easy thing to bolt onto a single-player game, it's really got to be designed around that already. I imagine it's going to take a lot of time to iron out all the issues. One thing that I imagine we'll see a lot early on is a disconnect between what players are seeing, so not all the customization parts may be able to be seen between both clients. These are just things that I'm speculating now because it's problems that I've seen with other games. So for instance, you might have a full custom Gundam looking M.A.S., while somebody else might have Godzilla, but on your screen they won't look like Godzilla, they'll just look like a standard M.A.S. Things like that. If it doesn't sync up, you'll have problems like this. These are key things that they have to work out, as in things like, has the player that's playing against me unlocked all the items? If so, do all the items display properly? Now, it's going to be weird, hoping that they can get this done relatively well, but to be honest, I would have liked it. You know, if they sort of took more time on multiplayer, I can see them slowly building up to it and it being good that way. People will get a chance to at least engage each other in lobbies and just have a chat and have a good laugh. It's going to be interesting to see how it's optimized as well with the massive amount of stuff on screen, especially with all the explosions. I imagine that they're going to have to tone down those effects considerably because, like they've said, the recent update was very good, but also brought a lot of lag and things because it wasn't as optimized as it could have been, seemingly anyway. There are a few issues with this 0.8 update. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in future with multiplayer, but I imagine it's going to be a bumpy road. More bumpier than the single player. Hi, Londrell. So PvE or PvP. They've not said yet, but you can only make good enough speculations, you know. Damon says, I hope we don't get Space Engineers levels of crap multiplayer. Oh, we got censored by Susan as well. I'll uncense that later on. But yeah, multiplayer, it's obviously, it's more complicated than the single player feature. I imagine it's going to have a lot of problems. Obviously, the devs don't want to have massive amounts of problems on the plate, but I imagine it's going to be a very bumpy road compared to the single player, which was very polished. So yeah, we get into the multiplayer alpha. New missions. While we focus into the multiplayer portion of the update, we cannot deny that the game needs to progress further in its single-player campaign. This means the next update we will continue working on the campaign missions. There are at least 2 new ones that will be available. If we have the time for multiplayer, we'll add 1 or more, either a challenge, it takes a lot of time to create one of these, or a hunt. It takes less time, but it's still fun and hectic, just like the latest one with explosions overall. They're also planning on new quarks, or enemies of the game, that they plan to introduce. It's been a long way since we've promised quarks that behave differently, varying attacks and behaviours a long time ago. We've been constantly adding 1 or 2 to each update, just like the exploding one introduced in 0.8. It felt refreshing for us to see players having fun with them in the newest hunt. With that, we'll be working on many more of them, having them fulfill some kind of purpose that's not just running headlong into you and me smash kind of things. We're also updating some of the old ones that were never reused due to some annoying mechanics. Say hello to the flying fish quarks. Other improvements. While 0.8 introduced a lot of things, it came with a lot of problems. Balancing players' status is one thing, optimization is another with visual effects overall. They certainly took the toll on players' computers, and were working to reduce the effects cluttering and instances where players lose FPS suddenly. More balancing to make the tech nodes more useful, etc. We can't promise we'll fix them all, but we'll try our best to get most of them. That's fine, that's fine. I like them being very open with us about this and very transparent, because it shows that they're actually trying to do things, and they're admitting that, yeah, while they might not get everything right, that's part and parcel of game development. It's fine, YouTube is odd when it comes to swearing, says Damon. Yeah, it really is. Can heads have weapons like lasers or Vulcans, says Apocalyptic? No. So yeah, it's interesting news for 0.9. The major takeaway from this, obviously, is the multiplayer. Like, multiplayer is on the horizon now. That's more or less confirmed from them. Honestly, I hope multiplayer comes out just as good as the single player did. But we'll have to see. Like I said before, it's pretty crazy trying to bolt on multiplayer portions of something to a single player game. And even though they promised multiplayer originally, I considered M.A.S.S, up until now at least, to be a single player game. So, again, I'm going to stress that even though the devs are really good at the job, I imagine this is going to be a bumpy road for them, if not in front of the camera, or, like, actually through updates, and through us actually seeing it in game. If not through that, then it's going to be behind the scenes with them trying to implement certain things, like certain features, and then make sure that when it gets sent out to everybody that it works correctly. Either way, I'm hyped for that. I imagine, again, speculation-wise, that we'll get PvE. People have wanted PvP. I'm not too sure on that at the moment, based on the balancing of the nodes and everything. I definitely think PvE will be a thing, primarily because I just think it's going to be really cool going on hunts with friends, cooperatively. And also the wave-based stuff that we already have. I imagine that's going to be, again, something that people will enjoy, is killing waves of quarks one after another, because people already experience this and get to roughly, I'm going to say roughly about level 15 to 20. So, being able to double up with like a friend or something and go co-op on all those wave-based modes and try and get higher waves, or rather get further in progression, that's going to be real fun. So I'm looking forward to that, and also to, certain things like, for instance, different build combinations, like, for instance, like I was saying before, if they get the customization synced properly, we're going to get to see things like Evangelion and Godzilla battling with each other, or battling alongside each other. We're going to get these weird female robots that have been introduced recently that people are building on multiplayer with like Gundam units. It's going to be crazy. There's a lot of Transformer builds going on at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see those alongside Gundams. The sky's the limit when it comes to customization with this game, and by opening multiplayer up to that as well, and we're going to get some wacky and fun combinations. So it's nuts, and I can't wait for it. Anyway, what do you guys think? I'll see you guys down in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching this stream, and I'll see you on the next one. So until then, goodbye!